In March 1989, the Exxon Valdez spilled 11 million gallons of crude oil into Alaska's Prince William Sound. An average of 2 oil spills are reported worldwide every week. Thousands of cleanup workers are needed every year. Exxon hired 11,000 workers to clean the Valdez spill, the biggest cleanup effort ever attempted in U.S. waters. The 3,000 square mile oil slick covered a significant section of Alaska's Gulf coastline. Media attention focused on the thousands of oiled and dead seabirds, otters, and the contamination of other wildlife. In response to this catastrophe, little attention was given to protecting the cleanup workers. One person was officially classified as killed. One other had a heart attack caused by complications from a serious flu. This respiratory condition was commonly called the Valdez crud and linked to overcrowded quarters and the potentially toxic oil vapors. All total, 1,800 injuries or illnesses were reported to the state of Alaska, ranging from sprained ankles and serious back injuries to chemical or toxic vapor exposures. Many of the workers did not receive proper training, instruction, and protective equipment, especially in the initial stages of the cleanup. This could have prevented a significant number of injuries. For the first time in U.S. history, oil spill cleanup work was covered by OSHA as a hazardous materials incident. Despite the directive, the state had only 7 inspectors to monitor 11,000 cleanup workers. Federal officials contributed 6 more inspectors, but they were on site for only half the summer.
The problem that I had is that when it hit, we sent in a couple people the first week, and then we kept trying to bring in people in Kodiak, use our Kodiak and our Seward in our Anchorage office. And then I remember calling the regional director in Seattle saying, look, something hit the rocks up here, you just said, do the best you can. I said, well, fine, And then we did the best we could. They didn't have any money to give us or anything. They just turned their back on it,
Sprained ankles and backs were the most common injuries. Workers would slip and fall on the oily, rocky beaches. These injuries totaled 36% of cases, and many could have been prevented if workers had worn flexible, high-top rubber boots. The first wave of Exxon workers wore rigid boots with firm rubber soles, leading to some quick injuries. Cuts, lacerations, contusions, punctures, and crushing wounds accounted for 13% of the injuries from such activities as cutting containment boom or using absorbent pads and pom-poms. The operation of heavy land-based construction equipment and barge or boat loading also contributed to the injury total. General health complaints were a major concern. 27% of the cleanup workers reported medical problems of the nervous or respiratory system. The most dangerous injury was the one not reported, the one that slowly affects a worker's health in later years. Inhalation, contact, and ingestion of cancer-causing chemicals such as oil-based benzene lay the groundwork for long-term diseases that can cripple or kill a worker when the oil spill is long forgotten.
When people deal with things, the unknown, that's where you get into problems, and we saw that in the Exxon Valdez.
It's estimated that 70,000 gallons of benzene vaporized during the spill. This known carcinogen has an average exposure limit of 1 part per million as set by OSHA standards. During the first 72 hours of the Exxon spill, it's likely that all workers, biologists, volunteers, photographers, fishermen, and others were exposed to excessive levels of benzene unless they used adequate respiratory protection. Few, if any, did. The most common method for hazardous chemicals to poison workers is through inhalation. With crude oil, this is especially true during the initial 72 hours. The evaporation and agitation of the standing oil mixed with the mist generated from hot water beach cleaning can also produce highly toxic vapors throughout the cleanup operation. The biggest exposure problem workers face is skin contact. Contact can cause irritation, rashes, and hair loss to sensitive areas like the eyes, nose, and genitals. It's also common for workers to accidentally swallow oil while eating, drinking, or smoking. Lack of cleanliness, which is common in oil-covered areas, can lead to contamination. Numerous other safety and health dangers exist, including hypothermia in winter or northern cleanups and heat stress. The threat of heat stress from hot summer days forced workers to remove their protective gear. This allowed dangerous skin contact with the benzene-laced oil and inhalation of toxic vapors now magnified due to the heat. The lack of properly designed protective clothing continues to be a major concern.
That we found in Exxon Valdez is that when they first initially started in the chemical area, that the workers weren't given the information they needed to. Some of the workers didn't know what they were using.
A cleanup worker needs to understand the behavior of different oil spill accidents. Crude spills in an ocean will assume the temperature of the water and begin to thicken after some evaporation. Evaporation of what's called light ends, which include benzene, will continue for a few hours in warm temperatures to as long as 3 days in colder areas. This release of potential toxins will also occur when weathered oil is stimulated with water washes or skimmers. Oil creates a slippery condition on solid surfaces and increases the chance of falls. It also becomes very sticky and easily contaminates cleanup workers. After many hours of spill cleanup, workers learn that protective clothing breaks down from contact with the oil and can't be decontaminated properly. Protective clothing needs to be replaced, otherwise oil can seep through, contacting the skin. Duct tape can be used as a seal to keep oil from leaking into a worker's gloves, jacket, or boots, preventing direct contact. Cleanup workers can have direct skin contact with oil via splashes and spray if they handle high-powered hoses, work in areas with strong wave currents, or work near marine vessels. Workers must go through the decontamination line before they are allowed to return to their quarters. This decon process prevents direct skin contact with the oil when removing protective gear and keeps the oil from spreading to clean equipment and areas. Procedures differ at each cleanup site, yet most areas have dirty, decon, and clean zones. The dirty zone is the cleanup location, such as a beach. The decon zone is where decontamination of clothing and equipment takes place. Contamination is reduced as you move to the clean zone, which is an area with no oil contamination, such as the living quarters. These 3 zones have specific procedures for each area. Oil and petroleum product spills will continue to occur. Those who will respond should be well informed at the hazards and know how to protect themselves.